Good morning, media friends. Welcome to the Chief Executive's press briefing. Chief Executive, please. Good morning. Last week, Super Typhoon Ragasa ravaged Hong Kong. I would like to take this opportunity to tally our experience gained. Ragasa is the strongest typhoon since record began in 1950. It is the second strongest hurricane force winds. It is also the strongest tropical cyclone this year in Asia Pacific. Its core wind force has reached 195 kilometers per hour, compared with 175 kilometers per hour of Typhoon Mangkhut. In 2018, Ragasa is even stronger. The number 10 typhoon signal has been hoisted for 11 consecutive hours. It is the second longest duration on record. Ragasa was 120 kilometers away from Hong Kong as the closest, with topping waves and tidal surges. The Victoria Harbour's sea level has risen 3.4 meters above the sea level, close to the sea level during Typhoon Hato. There were also a lot of overtopping waves and storm surges, resulting in flooding in coastal and low-lying areas. From media reports, we saw that in Cheung Kwan To South and Aberdeen, there were restaurants and hotels with their glass panel doors broken by the flooding. There was a restaurant in particular which was severely damaged. Now, during the typhoon and after the typhoon, the government has worked together to mitigate the impacts of the typhoon to minimize the damage. Government departments acted promptly to clear away fallen trees and debris to ensure that the main thoroughfare were unblocked. On the very night when the typhoon was unhoisted, we have resumed normalcy swiftly. Now, taking tally into the experience, we have summarized 5 points. First of all, we need to make plannings in advance. I've directed departments not to underestimate the damage of Typhoon Ragasa. They must be fully prepared for recovery. The Steering Committee on Handling Extreme Weather, led by the Chief Secretary for Administration, has coordinated various departments to prepare for the typhoon. 2 days before the arrival of the typhoon, cross-departmental meetings have been held to increase the safety coefficients of our facilities. We have activated the Emergency Control Center 1 day in advance, and we have announced the school suspension arrangement 1 day ahead. The 24-hour hotline has been activated. Now, 1 day prior to the arrival of the typhoon, when the weather was still calm, temporary shelters were opened so that needy residents can move in. More than 70,000 sandbags were provided to residents along the coastal area, 6 times more than before. More than 200 emergency teams under the Drainage Services Department have been deployed to various areas for preparation. All the departments have been well prepared for handling the typhoon and post-typhoon recovery so as to minimize the impact. Second, deployment in advance and recovery at full speed. Now, even when the Typhoon number 8 signal was hoisted, emergency departments like fire service departments have started recovery work. Clear goals were set, including mitigating flooding risk, clearing away fallen trees, sawing off fallen branches, fixing loosened signboards and scaffoldings. Before the arrival of the typhoon, the Hong Kong International Airport has made pre-arrangements for flights. On the first day after the typhoon has passed, 1,000 flights have taken off or landed at the airport. It showed that the airport is well prepared. 3, we need to establish an awareness in society to prepare for the typhoon. Now, with the help of the media, we have heightened the awareness of the public on the typhoon. Residents have heeded the government's call to put on adhesive tapes on the window and put up sandbags and installed water stop boards. The government thanks the public for collaborating with the government to prepare for the typhoon. Fourthly, continuous dissemination of information. Accurate and transparent communication forms the base of society to handle the typhoon. Through various channels, the government has been disseminating accurate and clear message to keep the public up to date of the progress of the typhoon. I thank reporters to brave the storm and report the most updated situation of the typhoon to help the public understand the force of the typhoon. It has minimized damage. Fourth, we need to adopt technology to enhance our efficiency. And the Hong Kong Observatory has made use of the state-of-the-art technology to empirically formed estimations on the pathway of the typhoon. The DSD has made use of technologies to deal with floods. 10 powerful flood robots have been deployed. Now, the capacity of these robots are much higher than traditional ones. Water to the equivalent of 3 standard swimming pools can be drained in an hour's time. I have directed the Chief Secretary for Administration to take tally of the successful experience to enhance our preparedness in the future. Research will be conducted to identify room for improvement, including enhancing the resilience of infrastructure and facilities in flood-prone areas so as to deal with extreme weather in the future and better protect Hong Kong. Thank you.
The floor is now open for questions. If you wish to put questions, please put up your hand. Before you put your questions, please tell us your media outlet and do limit yourself to 2 questions, please. We start with the journalist over there. I'm from TVB. On Saturday, Nathan Law arrived at Singapore from the US but was denied entry. He stayed for more than a dozen hours in Singapore. We have an extradition agreement with Singapore. Did the HKSL government request cooperation from the Singaporean government to extradite Nathan Law to Hong Kong? The US Consul General in Hong Kong met with a former Chief Secretary for Administration, Mrs. Anson Chen, and also Emily Lau, the former chairwoman of the Democratic Party. The Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office reposted articles critical of this arrangement. What's the government's take on this? Nathan Law is suspected of committing offenses endangering national security. He's the subject of a court warrant. He's a specified absconder under national security legislation. We will hold this person to account. No country should ever shield criminals. Endangering national security is a serious offense. The SCR government will strictly follow the law and strictly enforce the law. We will take all measures possible as we go after those criminals. On the second question, consuls general have the duty to follow diplomatic norms and international obligations. They should discharge their duties in line with their capacity as diplomats. They should not interfere with the internal affairs of China or Hong Kong under any pretext. They should respect the sovereignty of our country and the rule of law of Hong Kong. I hope that all consuls general in Hong Kong can play a constructive rather than a destructive role. Next question. On the left, second row, the journalist.
Few questions from RTHK. What's the SAR government reaction to the new U.S. Consul General for inviting opposition figures to our inaugural reception? And for the second question on solid waste charging scheme, what's the government's plan on the next step forward to reduce the city's waste? Thank you.
Consuls has the responsibility to abide by relevant international conventions and established diplomatic practices. They should perform their duties in Hong Kong in a manner befitting their diplomatic status and refrain from interfering in China's internal affairs and Hong Kong's affairs under any pretext or in any form. They should respect China's sovereignty and the rule of law in Hong Kong. I hope all consuls in Hong Kong will engage in constructive activities, not destructive activities. Regarding waste charging, the implementation of any policy requires comprehensive consideration, including the degree of social acceptance of the issue, whether a consensus has been reached, and the relevant supporting measures and environmental factors. Our resolve to promote waste reduction and recycling measures remains unchanged. Our goal remains unchanged to achieve zero landfill by 2035. Waste charging is one of the tools to promote waste reduction and recycling, but it requires social consensus. We have carefully studied surveys and listened to the views of citizens, trades, and industry. We understand a consensus has not been reached. I want to emphasize that the government's efforts in waste reduction and recycling will not stop. Through the multi-pronged efforts of the government, including enhancing recycling measures, promoting waste reduction at source, strengthening public education and publicity, results in waste reduction and recycling are being seen. Over the past 4 years, from 21 to 24, the average daily disposal of solid waste decreased by 7.5%. Per capita disposal fell by about 8%. Over the past 5 years, from 20 to 24, the overall recovery volume increased by 1/3. Public awareness of waste reduction continues to grow. The amount of waste disposal continues to decrease. And this continues to drop, and in the first half of this year, it is a drop of 5%. The government will continue to promote waste reduction and recycling in 4 areas. First, strengthen publicity and education. Second, improve the recycling network. Third, together with the industry, explore and promote practical and feasible environmental protection measures. And fourth, support the environmental protection industry and leverage market forces to help drive waste reduction and recycling.
好，最後一個提問。
Last question. On the right, last row, the gentleman in black. I'm from One-Way Pile. The National Day is coming up with the Golden Week. What preparations do we have? What measures will there be to disperse the crowd? Will there be measures to facilitate visitors? Will there be bargains? Now, during typhoons, the government said time again that people shouldn't be chasing storms. Secretary for Security, Mr. Chris Tang, hinted at exploring new legislation. Will we enact such laws? And what will be the principal requirements? There will be a golden week of 8 days. We expect 1.54 visitors from the mainland, up 11% from previous golden weeks. The visitor number is also expected to be higher than the golden week for May Day and Chinese New Year. And we expect 1,200 tour groups. That's comparable to the level last year. A large number of visitors are expected. We want them to have a good experience. So I've instructed departments to prepare in advance so that all activities can proceed in a safe and orderly manner. Roughly 10 days ago, the Chief Secretary for Administration chaired a meeting on festivals and activities. There will be more officers at the boundary control point. There will be more counters to help visitors and vehicles coming in. The Security Bureau also has an emergency control and coordination center. They will be monitoring the situation and respond. There will be more transport services, such as more frequent Golden Bus and Huanggang Bus services. There will also be more cross-boundary shuttle bus services. The MTR Corporation will also arrange more frequent train service. There will be enhanced crowd management. There will be more police officers on crowd management. As there will be fireworks and different tourist attractions, many people are expected. To protect visitors, the Travel Industry Authority has asked travel agencies and coach operators to step up crowd management. There will be inspections and there will be assistance to tour guides. The government will also clamp down on illegal behavior, such as overcharging of taxi passengers, refusal of hire, and also unfair trade practices. We will also step up the dissemination of information and make greater use of information. The government will step up on the dissemination of information, such as traffic and weather information. On the 22nd of September, the Security Bureau launched a one-stop information portal on cross-boundary travel information. This is to give the latest update on the different BCPs. On the 22nd of September, the Tourism Board also released information on the major tourist attractions and the promotional events in Hong Kong during the Golden Week. During the Golden Week, updates on the waiting time will be available, such as the waiting time at Disneyland, the Ocean Park, the Peak Tram, the Ngongping Cable Car, and also the East Dam of High Island Reservoir. This is to give the latest information to travelers so that they can plan their visits accordingly. Now, on the irresponsible behavior of storm chasing during Typhoon Ragasa, such behavior put these people's own lives at risk. Their behavior also created unnecessary risks in other ways. When an accident happens, rescuers are also at risk. Such irresponsible behavior also takes up public resources, and that diverts resources away from other measures to cope with the typhoon. The community condemns such irresponsible behavior. the government will take a serious look at this proposal. The police force has arrested 4 people for storm chasing, and the force will act based on the fact. And this also makes clear the government's position of going after the people for their irresponsible behavior, putting life and property at risk. There were calls in the community for legislation against the irresponsible behavior of storm chasing. The government will take into account such views and look into the matter. Thank you. That concludes the briefing today. Thank you.
唔該晒。